Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 530 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Jeanelle Slade. Montana Republican Rodney Garcia will not resign from his House seat representing Billings South Side.
Earlier this month, Montana Republican leaders called for his resignation after Garcia said socialists should go to prison or be shot.
Well, this morning Garcia was asked if he regrets his comments. His response, no.
You know why? I'm getting more positive response from people saying thank you. You know, we didn't know our country was at risk.
Today, Garcia spoke with us in the studio. Q2 Zoe Zandora standing by with more. Zoe?
Russ and Jeanelle, Rodney Garcia made these comments during a question and answer session with former U.S. Representative Ryan Zinke. Now today, Garcia approached MTM, calling these comments a well-received joke and said he had every right to say it based on his constitutional rights.
The former Secretary of Interior was there and he was asking for questions. And we have spoken about this behind closed doors in the Capitol, about this, how serious is getting into the state of Montana, the United States, socialism. And, you know, and I thought, well, I took an oath to serve and protect the people, all the people, even the socialists, you know, and so I got up and says, what are we going to do about this socialism? And he said, what do you think? I said, well, and improperly made a statement that says, either we could shoot him or put him in prison. And I have a right to say what I want according to the Constitution.
Republicans wasting no time in response. Montana Speaker of the House Republican Greg Hertz released a statement on Garcia's refusal to resign, saying, quote, while we are disappointed by Representative Garcia's refusal to do the right thing and resign, the fact is he is a lame duck legislator and the cost of a simple session is simply too great. The voters will now decide his fate in the June primary. Back to you, Russ and Jeanelle.
All right, thanks so much, Zoe. Now, while Garcia claims his comments were a joke, Q2 has learned that it's not the first time he said it.
In fact, he said almost exactly the same thing, that socialists should be shot or imprisoned, during an interview on the Northwest Liberty News, an independent conservative blog and website out of the Flathead Valley.
I don't know, this country's going to heck. And if we could get these people, these socialist people, out of our country or have them arrested, it's in the Constitution, they can be arrested, imprisoned, or shot, depending on what they prefer.
Those comments came from an interview about DPHHS that was posted on YouTube last November.
Former Ward 3 Billings City Council member Chris Friedel, who did not file for re-election last year, did file last Thursday to run against Garcia for state senator in District 46.
Well, a non-discrimination ordinance for Billings will soon rise to the top of the Billings City Council agenda.
Now, the ordinance would make it illegal to discriminate on the basis of race, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity in housing and public accommodation. Well, today, people in support of this ordinance are gathering at First Congregational Church in downtown Billings for a rally organized by a group of about 10 local business owners who say the Billings business community would grow with an NDO.
They say current laws only protect against discrimination in employment, while the areas of housing and public accommodation are unprotected. Now, the last time an NDO came before the Billings City Council was back in 2014. Debate lasted into the early morning hours. The issue is expected to draw similar interest this time around.
At least for the supporting side, I think that it's important to see that movement of people coming forward to say, no, why don't we have something like this in place? Like, and a lot of people I've talked to didn't know that there's not protections in place. So it's kind of concerning that for being a large town in Montana that we don't have something like this in place already to protect a large chunk of the community.
The Billings City Council will vote next Monday whether to put the NDO on the agenda for a March 23rd vote.
And now turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire, who, Bob, the word is the warm front's heading this way.
Actually, it's a cold front, and then it will warm up after that. So it's both of them coming in. Let me show you what's happening out there right now. Doppler radar shows you isolated snow showers been hitting around all around Billings all afternoon. We might have seen some of your place. We even had some minor snow squalls up there in southeastern Muscle Shell County, northeastern Yellowstone County. That you can see over there right by the word I-94. But let me show you what else is happening. Look at all the snow up there by Great Falls. All that stuff has to come our way. In fact, they're looking at some pretty hefty snow up there by Interstate 50. Moderate to heavy snow in that area. I should say 15. They're having moderate to heavy snow there. And wind chill advisories. Look at this, going to 30 below zero the next few days. But here's the last thing I want to show you. Look what's going to happen. Things slowly but surely warming back up. 22 on Wednesday, but all the way up to 49 degrees by the time Sunday gets here. The warm-up's coming. Just hang in there. We'll have more in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, in Billings and across our state, weather patterns can be tricky at all times of the year, especially in February. Now, just today in southeast Muscle County and northeast Yellowstone County, the National Weather Service issued a snow squall warning. It also happened over the weekend in the Missoula area. Now, if a snow squall warning sounds unfamiliar, there's a good reason for that. MTN meteorologist Russ Thomas shows us.
If your phone blew up shortly after 8 last night, you're not alone.
At 8:15 p.m., our office issued snow squall warnings.
That's when a pocket of heavy snow began falling along the I-90 corridor between East Missoula and Nimrod. A snow squall warning is a new product the Weather Service put in place last year. A squall develops when a plume of moisture meets cold air.
You combine the northwest flow with cold air aloft, forcing the air up the terrain from the northwest tends to make the snow more intense and cause all sorts of havoc with heavy snow, but then exclude areas that are only several miles away to the north or south.
Case in point, a persistent snow band from the S-curves just north of Lolo south into Florence produced about 6 to 8 inches of snowfall in a short amount of time. Meanwhile, 12 miles south of Florence in Stevensville, not so much. Meteorologist Dan Zumpf says despite ever-increasing weather model capability, they have yet to master predicting exact locations of snow squall development.
We look at this in terms of how long they last and how long it takes for them to develop. And our weather models right now are not capable of capturing what would be on the order of 1 to 2 hours. Where it would be very heavy and then have no snow at all.
What we do know is that there are areas that are more prone to squall development than others, but it doesn't really eliminate any locations in western Montana.
These bands tend to develop most along the I-90 corridor from Lookout Pass all the way east to roughly Drummond, and then from the north about Arlee, and then south all the way to the central Bitterroot, so Stevensville, maybe even Hamilton at times.
Until technology catches up with accurately forecasting snowband locations, it's a good idea to pay attention when your phone goes into a frenzy when a snow squall warning is issued, knowing that heavy snow creating a travel nightmare may be nearby. In Missoula, Russ Thomas, MTN News.
Thanks, Ross. Now, to this point, only a small handful of snow squall warnings have been issued since the product was put into use.
Campaign 2020 is upon us, and that means a flood of Robo Calls. Now, here's some advice on what to watch out for so they don't drive you too crazy this political season.
As the 2020 presidential campaign ramps up, the Better Business Bureau says Americans will get more political robocalls.
This year, going into a presidential election year, it's going to be off the charts.
While political robocalls might be aggravating, they're not illegal. The same goes for robocalls from charities or calls that are informational. But other robocalls are illegal.
Anytime one of these robocalls starts to try and sell you a product, that's when you know it's illegal and a red flag.
The president and CEO of the Better Business Bureau says automated calls can't legally try to sell you anything unless they have your written consent first. And he says scam robocalls, claiming to be from law enforcement or the IRS, become more frequent when the people behind them confirm a working phone number. So your best defense, if you don't recognize the number, don't pick up the phone.
Once you answer it and they know it's a live phone, they're going to call you more, and then you get on another list that another scammer is going to buy.
All day long.
I get a lot of them.
Well, it's a day off from work and school for many on this President's Day.
And here's some fun facts about the holiday. President's Day officially became the third Monday in February back in 1968. However, it was first established in 1885 in honor of George Washington's birthday. It will be his 288th birthday on Saturday.
And later on, it was decided the holiday would also celebrate Abraham Lincoln's birthday, which was last week. He would be 213 years old.
And there is more news from across our state on the MTN 9 o'clock news. Montana teachers, students, and schools honored with statewide awards today. We'll bring you some of the winners. Join Jeanelle on the MTN statewide news. That's coming up at 9 on the CW.
But first, on tonight's 5:30 news, the coronavirus has everyone's attention, and now it's being used to scare and scam. We'll tell you how.
Plus, we're going to check in with the unofficial first family of Montana basketball and see how the Tinkles are now making waves at Oregon State.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger, Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire, and sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.